Lili Nishmas Chava Bas Yaakov. Today we're continuing and we're finishing the inyan of Einos Dibur. Now we have to know Einos Dvarim is a huge sugya, and we can't be finished with it. Reb Zelig Pliskin has a book totally dedicated to Einos Dvarim, which is called The Power of the Word. We're today in the Pele Yoetz we're finishing it, and we hope that we're starting from Avol Roy Ladas in the middle, page 192 in the Art Scroll, and page Mem Beis in the Hebrew edition. Avol Roy Ladas ki loy hutar litzar b'dvarim, that we know we were in the middle of saying that a person shouldn't be mitzar somebody with words. Afil lemisha tzir oisai, even somebody who is mitzar him. Unless you do it with total dedication to love for that person. Somebody was saying that somebody davens for the Amid. There was a guy who davened for the Amid, and he davened totally off tune. And somebody said, "I have to go tell him." Well, he pained me. The whole davening, I had to listen to this guy off tune. So somebody asked Reb Simcha ben Cohen, "What do you tell to somebody who davens for the Amid and he doesn't know how to daven?" So he said, "You tell him Yasher Koyach." He said, "But it's lying." He said, no. He said, Yasher Koyach, and in your mind you think, thank Yasher Koyach for the kapara. So a person has to always be careful that you don't say not nice words to people, that somebody shouldn't want to daven for the Amid again, or you shouldn't want to do something for the tzibur again. Avo. But if he did something to you and now you're saying a word to him because he did something to you, then you have another aveira of loisikam. It doesn't have to tell you. The Torah doesn't have to tell you somebody who wants your good. The atu b'shutfini. Askinan, there's a fool. Only a fool would want to harm his friends. A lot of times we're sitting around with friends and we think there's a heter to give a good jab. You know, as people say, a friend of mine does tires, and people say, "Oh, you spread around nails around town." You can't say that. You're not allowed to say. At the end of the day, even if it's a joke, there's a little bit that you're painting your friend. You're not supposed to say that. I was by an event, and people were sitting around, and there was people sitting around. They were making a joke, and there was a friend of ours this guy was his ability to take a joke and his confidence was up to the top. This guy was a confident person, and somebody was talking about him, and he said, how much do you think he weighs now? I mean, he was making a joke on this person, but it was he didn't mean it in a bad way. Lamaisa, this person was insulted, and a person has to realize that even if you're making a joke and you're not trying to be not nice to the person, it's just in good humor. You're sitting around, chaverim, there's a few drinks, and all of a sudden you make a joke on somebody, that person might be sensitive to it, and you have to be very careful that you shouldn't do anything to insult your friend. Ella, filum tsari lo hutter b'damai, and the blood will be on you. His pain, his life will be on you. Shloi zeh v'arei zeh mechlal litzonis, and it's also mechlal of litzonis amra sh'tchilasa yisurim v'soifer kalaya. It will be a bad thing. So what's the point there? The point is that when you have friends, you bring them up. You bring up their level. Meaning you see somebody's doing something, you say, Yasher Koyach for bringing the tires down in Lakewood, for keeping the prices low. Yasher Koyach for taking care that people should have this thing. Somebody said he was working for a yeshiva, and he was at a restaurant, and somebody came over to him and he said, "Oh, yeah, you're getting paid. The yeshiva. I'm glad to see yeshiva's paying you well. He's just eating out. What you have to buy." But the idea is you're trying to come up. You're trying to say something to him. You're trying to make a conversation. You're not really trying to do something bad. You're not trying to do something in a bad way. You're just making a conversation. The idea of the Pele Yoetz is saying, let the conversation be something nice. It doesn't make you less of a man if somebody says something nice to somebody else. It makes you more. It makes you a bigger person. You have to be careful with Einos Dvarim. When it comes to your wife, a person has to be very careful because of her tears. A person gets quickly a punishment. We said that in Ishta. We spoke about this. This is another thing. Before that, I want to tell you, Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson was talking about, now we're in the Mei Sfira. During the Sfira, when 24,000 Talmidim of Rabbi Kiva were nifter. Why? Shloinagu covered Zelazera. Rabbi Y.Y. says, those 24,000 Talmidim, nobody knows even one name of those 24,000 Talmidim. Why? Because they weren't Naga covered Zelazera. The 5 Talmidim that remained, we have their names, we talk about them every single day. A person who puts out positive. Like Rabbi Abadi, Rabbi Wallerstein, those people, they love their fellow Jew. They're going to have a high impact. They're going to be high impact people. People who are nagu kavod zeh lezeh. And I was thinking another thing. The Pele Yoetz is talking about speech, but what about text messaging? Today we have tons of text messaging. We have chats, WhatsApp chats. If there's one time that you're on a chat and somebody says something that puts somebody down, it's kedai to just leave that chat. Meaning you shouldn't be on such a chat that somebody's putting other yidden down. A person who wants to, I was looking at the when somebody passes on. So right away we cry, but afterwards we also look at pictures of that person and we look at the text messages. And I was looking, Reb Shuli Galman died in a tragic bike accident a few years ago. And I was looking back at the text messages that he sent me, the voice notes. His voice notes were always beautiful voice notes, kind, nice, always with a compliment. A person like that, his neshama should have an aliyah. I looked at my text messages that I had with Rabbi Abadi, and I'm like, I wish I would have a little bit, just wrote a little nicer, a little, because we were talking about pictures that were sending him from hotels, that kids made messes and things like that. Could have kept off one picture, one thing. After the person passes, we should strive that when, Mirz Hashem, after 120, when we pass, that our children should look at our phone and look at our text messages and our chats and say, these are text messages that we want our children to look at and say, this is how we spoke. Wow. This is how we talk to other people. Yashakayach, have a wonderful day. Thank you.